Hi, I'm Lisa Nichols, and no matter what has happened in my life, I am a Braveheart woman.
Welcome to Conversations with Braveheart Women, an exciting new series of in-depth interviews with women who choose to be inspiration in action. Hosted by Ellie Drake and presented by Braveheart Women TV. In the third program of the series, the spotlight shines on one of the stars of the successful DVD, The Secret, Lisa Nichols. And now, Ellie Drake and Conversations with Braveheart Women.
Hi, I'm Ellie Drake with Braveheart Women TV. My guest today began with very humble beginnings. Yet along the way, she learned to turn her breakdowns into breakthroughs, and as a result of which inspired thousands of people around the world, including many teens. You may recognize her from the movie The Secret, yet it's no longer a secret that Lisa Nichols is a shining star. Thank you for being here, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me, Ellie. It's my pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So let's talk about those humble beginnings, just a little bit.
You know, people often look at my life now and they expect this wonderful story of all of this self-esteem or great, moments. And I had really wonderful parents.
Yeah.
But I struggled in school all 12 years. When I got a C, I did the happy dance. My best friends would get frustrated, but I struggled in school. I was the type of student that I needed to hear it 2 or 3 or maybe 4 times. So the experience of academics wasn't fun for me. It wasn't comfortable for me. And there was no learning, there was no place for my learning style, I felt. So I struggled. But more than that, I struggled with loving myself. Loving my mocha skin, my full lips, my round hips, my kinky hair. I didn't see that type of beauty depicted on television when I was a child. And so it was hard to embrace my beauty. So on top of the challenges of school, the self-esteem challenges began as soon as I woke up. And my family qualified for free lunch, which meant we were officially in poverty. And so there was a lot of settling and a lot of love, but a lot of making do with what we had, and a lot of encouragement. But I realized that I used to look in the mirror and want to be someone different, want to live somewhere different, want to have something different. It wasn't until I was in my 20s and my 30s that I began to seek peace with who I am and what I have, what I look like, how I was created, that was a journey. I didn't arrive there overnight. It was a journey to fall in love with my skin, my lips, my hips, and my hair. And so it wasn't the journey that I would think would lead someone to the life that I have now. It was crawl before you walk, walk before you run, and run before you leap, and leap and then soar.
Was there a moment that you thought, oh, I've jumped and I hope I develop my wings on the way down?
Oh, plenty of times. Plenty of times. When I wanted to start my company, I knew that I was supposed to inspire millions. I don't know if you've ever known your calling. Like, I didn't know exactly how it was supposed to be done, but I knew that I was called to do something big and to touch people and inspire people, and not necessarily in front of lights and camera, but just do the work, to be in service, to allow my life to empower and inspire someone else, some little girl, some little boy somewhere who's not celebrating themselves, who's not seeing the gift that may be wrapped in sandpaper. Because some of our gifts may come wrapped in sandpaper. And I didn't realize that many of the things that were my struggles were my gifts that were simply wrapped in sandpaper. And so I wanted to inspire people. But I realized I had no idea. My community inspiration came from church. And it didn't come from a motivational speaker or a seminar. We didn't have money for seminars. And so here I was desiring to do something bigger than I'd ever done before. And I remember when my son was 3 years old, I knew that I had to risk it all to gain it all. I had to live outrageous. I had to be crazy and courageous. I had to possibly make no sense to anyone, that if no one else could see my vision, it was because God gave it to me and not them. Like, I had to be crazy like that as a single mom. And so I packed my son Jelani up, and I got my SUV, my green SUV, jumped on the 405 freeway, and just drove south, away from anything that could hold me back. and not quite clear what I was going to.
Yes.
And I remember seeing a sign on the side of an apartment building saying great apartments for rent. And I looked at my 3-year-old son and I said, that's where we're going to live. And we're going to stay in San Diego. I landed in San Diego for 5 years. And I'm going to pour everything into my dream. And I'm going to give it 5 years of my energy. And I didn't know from one day to the next what was going to happen. My son says now that I heard him telling his friend his favorite food is lamb chops. And I jokingly looked at him and said, but what was your favorite food for a long time?
Yeah.
He said, beanies and weenies, because we lived off of those. We did what we had to do. There was a moment where I had a head of cabbage, a carrot, and an onion in the refrigerator. And I celebrated eating stir-fried vegetables for dinner. Like, I was okay with that. I was okay with that because if it was the thing that would allow the dream to come, then I was willing to pay the price to live simple.
Yes.
As opposed to paying the price to not giving my dream a life. And I get that when you're called, when your passion is screaming at you, it will be the thing that prevents you from sleeping at night.
Yes.
And that I wouldn't feel whole until I said yes. And that's what I believe a woman, a man is supposed to do, is to say, how can you use me in a bigger and greater way and help me to get out of my way every day? I was scared. I wasn't just living for me. I was living for my son.
Yes.
But I also knew that if I was going to give him any lesson in life, it was going to be to play big and to not live inside of your limitations and your fears and your regret and your shame, but to live inside your possibility. And so today, you know, I watched him last year learn how to surf in Maui, and he came up from surfing and he said, Mom, can you believe I'm learning how to surf in Maui? And I said, just barely, just barely. And so I look at my life today and I'm grateful. I'm grateful when I arrive in a limousine and I'm at a 4- or 5-star hotel. I never forget the journey. I never forget the walk, the crawl, the soar, and the leap. And I always remember that there's another woman, there's another girl, there's another young man who's taking that baby step right at this moment that we're talking right now, who's riddled with fear on can it possibly work, or who's picking themselves up from a breakdown. And that we're all in this magical blend of journey together. And that it's your job and my job to reach back and to say, do it. Put everything in it when you do it. And risk it all to gain it all. And be insanely courageous. And be bold and have the audacity to believe in yourself when no one else can believe in you. And see the vision that only you've been given. If no one else can share it with you, then you bring life to it so that they can see it. That's your job. We're impregnated with projects. And they won't be given to the world unless we allow ourselves to go through the labor pains, to go through the long nights, to go through those miserable moments, to birth something bigger than you and I. And I said a lot. All you asked me was one question, huh?
Wow, wow, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And you said, I'm going to give it 5 years and pour everything. And so many of us have learned, I don't know from where, to just, you know, if it doesn't happen in the next 90 days, then it's not real. And that is something that's truly, truly inspiring. Because so often when we start to give birth, then the universe wants to test to make sure if we're genuine.
Absolutely.
And if you don't give it time, there is so much more I want to talk about, so much more. You have such a no matter what type of energy. And I love that. And we're going to come back in just a moment. This is Ellie Drake with Braveheart Women TV. We'll continue this conversation with the amazing, inspiring Lisa Nicol's.
Thank you for watching Conversations with Braveheart Women. And remember, if you'd like to give your friends the gift of inspiration, simply forward this video program to the Braveheart women in your life. And be sure to watch the next segment of this interview, as well as other empowering conversations available on braveheartwomen.com/TV.